Hi, everybody. Welcome to the Mount Los Altos High School District Board of Trustees meeting for September 23rd. And I will call this meeting to order a little bit after 7:02. And note that
September
all-
22nd, September 27th.
Is it the 27th? Excuse me. It's been the 23rd all day. That's not good. Thanks. September 27th. Appreciate that. So on September 27th, here we are. And note that all trustees are present. We've got Dr. Felice on Zoom with us up on the screen, and both of our student board reps are with us. Thank you for being here, Riley and Alva. And, sorry, I just jumped. Thank you. Would everybody join us for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, so I would take a motion to approve the agenda.
So moved. Second.
Okay, I've got a motion from Catherine and a second from Debbie that we approve the agenda as presented. Riley, how would you like to vote? I approve. Thank you. And Alva? I approve. Thank you. Back to the board. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Bill, is that an aye? Okay, good. Okay, great. Thank you very much. And just to let you know, there was no action taken in closed session, so there is nothing to report out from that. So that was, I just hit item 8.1, so that was the report out there. And that takes us to item 9.1, which are our board member reports. Does anybody have anything? Oh. Okay. Take this to our students. Ava, do you want to start it?
Yeah, sure. Okay, so a couple updates since the last meeting 2 weeks ago. Juniors at Mountain View High School are getting parking passes now, so our back parking lot is open to juniors. The Candidly Speaking program that we did last year is going to be happening again this year. We are setting up training for facilitators for this program in the next couple weeks, and the same with the joint event with Los Altos for the Candidly Speaking program, and it's organized by our ASB president. And homecoming is actually next week for us at Mountain View, so the preparation has definitely started for everyone in ASB. The theme is out of this world, so like space themed. We announced homecoming court last week. It's 17 individuals and 2 people will be crowned. We're gonna have a spirit week for spirit days each day of the week. We will have float night where each class has a theme for their floats. For example, juniors are going to be planets, and they decorate the floats with paper flowers. And then there's a panel at the end who judges and picks one to win. And then those floats are part of the homecoming parade, which is Friday after our minimum day after school. And there will also be a homecoming picnic for clubs to have an opportunity to fundraise on that day. And so tickets for the dance have gone on sale. The dance will be completely outdoors on our lacrosse field. And we are working on getting a dance floor. And the football game is going to be against Santa Clara, and the theme is Pink Out. And that's the Friday before homecoming, October 8th. A couple other things going on. Our student-to-student tutoring program in the tutorial center has begun, and it's after school on Wednesdays. The Tedx Club at Mountain View High School is doing auditions for their first event, which is going to be in January, where they have different speakers, and it's obviously inspired by TED Talks, and the theme for this year is Parts of a Whole. So they're doing auditions for their speakers. Last week we had a girls volleyball win against Los Altos High School, which is fun. And another big program that's starting, and it's run by someone in ASB, is our Academic Peers program. So this program is basically to celebrate academically supportive and kind individuals on campus and create a student support network within each class. And how it works is teachers will nominate students for each class period they teach, and those students will have an opportunity to become an academic peer. And this will be like community service credit as well. And academic peers act as resources for their classmates. They're kind and welcoming and empathetic individuals who make positive contributions to the class atmosphere. And they're just there to answer questions and help and support their classmates. And they're just someone in class who you can always ask for help, especially if students are too nervous to communicate with teachers or ask questions. So yeah, that's the program that's going to be starting. And lastly, we had a congressional meeting 2 weeks ago, and one of the feedbacks that I got from that meeting was a student talking about lunch cards, since that's been a new addition to our campus this year. And she was just wondering, or kind of bringing up her concern of if they are really necessary, because they have like the same barcode as your ID. So she was saying like maybe we could just use our IDs. So yeah, that was a piece of interesting feedback that I heard from the congressional meeting. Yeah, so that's pretty much it.
Thank you. Riley?
Yeah, so the first thing that I have is about 2 weeks ago, I think we had the staff development day, so students got to sleep in. And I know that wasn't the point of them, but I know I got positive feedback for that. So if you want to keep developing the staff, that's our girls tennis team got to go to San Diego this weekend for a tournament, and I know they really enjoyed that and the opportunity to finally get to go on a travel trip for sports again since COVID happened. So that was a super positive experience. We had Nellie and a few other staff members come into our ASB class last week, and we discussed pros and cons of how the school year's been going. And I know that was a lot of good feedback for both Nellie and then just our school brainstorming it as well. This Friday, we have a new event that we're just starting called Sports Under the Stars. And so we're having a bunch of students pre-sign up to be on different sports teams for ultimate frisbee, spike ball, and flag football. And we're hosting a bunch of tournaments this Friday night under the lights with food trucks, which is kind of a fun nighttime sports tournament event that we're doing. Our girls cross country team broke the school record last week at Baylands. Our top 5 runners ran a combined time that was the fastest ever run on that course, which is a cool achievement. Our field hockey team had a big tournament 2 weekends ago, and they placed second, just behind the team that hosted the event. And so they thought it was a little rigged because the team that won played on their home field every game. We had a spike ball tournament last week that ended up lasting 5 days because we had over 52 teams sign up for this lunchtime tournament. So that was super fun. It was a super positive event. And then the championship was a big deal, and a lot of people came to watch because it was the last 2 teams out of 52 that started the tournament, which was super cool. Like Ava said, we're also doing a Candidly Speaking event joint with Mountain View. Our College and Career Center is doing a really good job of publicizing college visits and giving opportunities to seniors to kind of expand their knowledge on colleges that they're interested in. And then another thing about lunch is that students really enjoy free lunch, but they are starting to wonder if we could expand it and get more options open in that area. And then my last thing that I wrote is I'm not going to bring up any more sports against Mountain View, but we're working on it. Yeah, that's my answer.
Thank you.
Tired of pizza?
There are other good options, but
Yeah, I was going to say there are salads.
Yeah, there are
and
salads and there are sandwiches,
burritos and tacos, and yeah.
it's good.
I know my son
Okay,
eats
but-
pizza every day.
Okay, okay. But happy to hear the feedback. I didn't mean to discount the feedback.
It's
This was hoping
overall
they knew
really
about the other
positive,
stuff.
but that's just like, just if you want
Other
to
options.
add on, yeah.
Thanks. Okay, so that takes us to item 11.1, which is our March Students of the Month. And Ava, do you want to start us off? Yeah, sure. Wait, did I say? No, I didn't.
Should I have her come or?
Oh, I forgot, you haven't.
I've
you
never
haven't
done it in
done
person either.
Oh, okay, well, Riley, why don't we have you go first, since you've at least done it before, but, yeah, if you'll go up to the podium
And I call her.
and bring up the student with you.
Okay.
Yeah.
Alan, you can come.
You have Alan.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Introduce.
yeah, and no, after.
So Alan's first.
Did I say there?
Yeah, I've been in person before. Okay, so this is Alan Feldman, our September Student of the Month. Los Santos High School is proud to recognize Alan Feldman as our September Student of the Month. It's an honor to celebrate Alan and his accomplishments throughout his time at Los Santos High School. Alan is very involved at Los Altos High School, with one of his major commitments being a writer for the school newspaper, The Talent. He has been involved in journalism for 3 years, holding places in New Media Lit and The Talent. He not only loves writing, but the process of interviewing, finding sources, and getting information to people in a timely fashion. Using his skills from both New Media Lit and Talent, Alan has brought a multimedia aspect to the class, documenting news using videography along with writing. He wants to maintain an aspect of journalism in college, with interest in getting involved with the school publication or joining a journalism club. He is also an editor for C-Teen Connection, a Jewish publication written by teens around the globe. Alan is also the president of 2 clubs on campus, Jew Crew and Peace in the Middle East. He enjoys both because he feels they go hand in hand, with debates and discussions about conflicts in the Middle East, such as the Palestinian and Israeli conflict. He started the Peace in the Middle East Club last year to create a space to learn and discuss Middle Eastern conflicts and culture. They have hosted various guest speakers over Zoom, including professors and PhD students from Stanford University and UC Berkeley. Additionally, Alan has played for the school soccer team for the past 3 years, which ties to one of his most significant commitments outside of school. He co-founded an organization called AE Soccer Training with another Los Altos High School student. Here, he has coached approximately 30 kids and has raised over $6,000. They are putting the money they've raised towards funding a first ever girls soccer league in East Palo Alto, which will start in late October. Outside of all this, Alan enjoys long road bike rides around the Bay Area. He also enjoys volunteering at his local synagogue, Chabad Palo Alto, and spending time with his friends and family. Congratulations, Alan Feldman, for receiving September Student of the Month and for all your tremendous success and dedication to give back to your community and school. We can't wait to see all of the amazing accomplishments coming your way in the near future. Thank you for being here and congratulations.
Thank you for having me.
I think we probably have some board questions, so if you can stick around for a couple minutes. Yeah, go ahead, Debbie.
Okay, I do. Can you elaborate some on your soccer league for the East Palo Alto for the girls and what you're doing and who's going to be coaching it and what kind of teams they're going to play? It's very interesting.
Yeah, so we're actually partnering with the Boys and Girls Club of the Peninsula. So they're starting a new project. It's a brand new thing where they're gonna start an all-girls league in East Palo Alto on Friday nights. So essentially we go out and just play with them. It's gonna be around 8 girls. And really the aim of it is like towards empowerment and equity, because we noticed that like girls in sports isn't very, it's a thing that we should strive towards improving. So because of that, me and also the other co-founder, we've been playing soccer together. So we thought that was a great way to, I guess, help the community.
Is there a certain age level that you're doing it for, or is it all ages and multiple teams?
I think it's going to be anywhere from like 5 to like 11. So
Okay.
generally younger ages, but
Good.
anyone's welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Other questions?
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, you're interested in so many things, all the journalism and the interviewing and all that, but then the sports but then the activism in the community. So what do you think you're going to do when you're done with high school?
It's always a hard question. I don't know. I definitely want to still remain active in journalism. Maybe want to study something related to business, econ, but generally just stay active and just be involved in whatever I want to do and just follow my passion. So for me, that's the most important.
Thank you very much. Do you have family here?
No, I don't.
Okay, well, we're going to send Dr. Myra for a picture regardless.
We're going to take a picture of you, Alan, and Warren want to join. And then Riley as well. Did you have the picture? Sure.
Laura, or just your-
See, I can just make up her.
Is that easy? Yeah.
It's for you.
We're saying this way or?
No, we're facing right here. Congratulations, by the way. Sorry. Okay. We'll have this mask picture. Yeah. You can remember it well. Thank you. All right, congratulations. Alan. You don't have to do that. Yeah.
Now I will turn it over to you all.
Okay, Alix Rousseau is Mountain View High School September 2021 Student of the Month. Alix is a current senior who stands out as both an excellent student and community member. She is currently enrolled in challenging classes like AP Government and Macroeconomics, AP Literature, Geometry, and Algebra 2, and Learning Skills. Along with balancing these classes, Alix is also the founder and co-president of the Humanitarian Club Inara at Mountain View High School, which she founded during her sophomore year. This club is a chapter of the Inara organization that fundraises for war-wounded refugee children. Since Alix has been running the club, she has led fundraisers that have raised over $3,000 for Inara, which is the International Network for Aid, Relief, and Assistance. Her commitment to think about the world and how she can get involved in it to make it a better place shines through to her teachers and those around her. Alix was born in France and moved to the United States when she was in elementary school. She is fluent in French, and language classes are among her favorite subjects along with history. Alix is also an avid swimmer. She has been a part of the Mountain View High School swim team for 3 years and has also been swimming competitively outside of school for Palo Alto Stanford Aquatics for 7 years. She also coaches swimming as a junior coach at the Los Altos Country Club. In her free time, Alix enjoys activities such as sailing, photography, videography, and painting. Alix hopes to major in history in college and then attain a master's in international relations in order to pursue a career in journalism. She has explored her interest in journalism in high school through individually interviewing several award-winning journalists like CNN Chief International Correspondent Clarissa Ward. Congratulations, Alix.
Congratulations. Thank you for joining us on a Monday night. I know these are tough nights with school. Questions?
Yeah,
Yeah, go ahead.
So it's great to see two of our students are active fundraisers. So to tell me, how did you raise the money? How did you raise $2,000?
We actually did it through a variety of events. It started out as a basic bake sale my freshman year because I simply wanted to help out kids in the Middle East. And by the time I got to like the ending of freshman year, I was like, I really want to make this a commitment and I really want to help out these children.
So you raised almost $3,000 on a bake sale?
Bake sales, I've swum a mile for them.
Oh.
What else have we done? We recently launched a collection, like in fundraising line, which somehow, some way found its way to an Oscar-nominated actress, which I was not expecting. So, yeah.
I think the more you talk, you're going to discover a lot more about you.
Yeah.
That sounds amazing. Sounds absolutely amazing. Well, congratulations.
Thank you.
I have to ask you about sailing because I'm an avid sailor. So what kind of sailing do you do?
I don't know if you guys know catamarans.
Okay, yeah, I don't do that kind. I do the monohull, but yeah, okay. That's good.
And I've been doing it since I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, good. That's amazing. Keep it up. You can do that in college too, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Alix, how do you decide who to give the donations to? What is your connection to the Middle East and how does that work?
So my freshman year, I had actually been cyberbullied and I wanted to change that. And through this Oscar-nominated actress, I had found Inara, and I was like, I have had family based in the Middle East. My family is pretty international and have done humanitarian work. So I thought it was a great idea to give back.
Can you name the Oscar-nominated actress?
Amanda Seyfried.
Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia 2, sorry.
Which one?
Mamma Mia. Mamma Mia movie.
Great.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Okay. Do you have family here?
No.
Memorialize this great. Almost not.
Thank you.
All right.
Already queued up. I'll turn this
I
over to Dr.
know.
Meyer for the superintendent's report. Those of you tracking, it's 12.1.
Okay, very hard act to follow. So I wanted to share some pictures and some information on updates of things that have been going on in the district. This is a picture of Freestyle, and they are somewhat near where their new building will be, but wanted to just get another glimpse into one of our programs. So moving forward, a couple of updates, a couple of things to share. We've looked at just a few data points as the year has started, and this is certainly not an inclusive grouping, but I did want to share the attendance because a lot of questions have come up, since the pandemic, how have things gone? And so I did a pre, during, and post-pandemic snapshot just to give you a sense of how students are doing. And this is just one of many, many indicators. But what you can see is Los Altos and Mountain View High had very similar numbers. So I did combine them. Pre-pandemic, 97.9. And I have to say, having worked in high schools all my life, sometimes it's really hard to crack 95. So it's a very impressively high number because it does include garden variety, flus, colds, etc. And then you can see at Alta Vista, it was 90%, also a very high number. And what we did to compare across the 3 years is we took the first month of school for each of these 3 years. So we had it within a similar time frame. During the pandemic, you can see the disproportionate hit that it had on our students who are struggling with attendance, obviously, but struggling with other issues such as challenges at home, challenges with credit, housing, finding food, etc. And so what you can see here is that the combined comprehensive high school attendance rate stayed about the same. Pretty impressive. A lot of places really went into the 80s and 70s. But you can also see that at Alta Vista, they definitely struggled during this last year. And I know Bill Pierce, who is presenting tonight, certainly was tracking all of the students, and some were hard to find. And then some did eventually, as you can see, are starting to come back. And then once again, in the post-pandemic, 97.05, a little bit lower, but still very high and very within range and what you would expect, especially since we do have some students who we're telling everyone to stay home if you have any of the symptoms. So that is to be expected. And you can also see Alta Vista is having a comeback. And so we're very proud of the work that has gone on in that area, but you can definitely see that the recovery really hit different groups of students disproportionately. Moving forward with this, wanted to share something that we have been tracking internally. 98% of our staff are vaccinated or testing twice a week for those who have absolutely chosen not to be vaccinated. And this is one of the highest numbers in the region, and then also within Santa Clara County. And so that is a very high number. We're monitoring those who are testing, and we're making sure that we have a safe atmosphere. So that's a very high, a number we're very proud of. That took a lot of work. And thank you to those who are tracking it. And we've spoken about our human resource department and the tracking that takes place. And then, the number where I'm asking for a little help here. the vaccination indicator for students. We have 50% of our students who have verified that they are vaccinated. And this really was the first wave. Right away when we put that out, right away we're like in the 45 to 50% range. Then it definitely has plateaued. And the unfortunate thing is that when we do have a positive case, that's when everybody who's a close contact, we might get more that dribble in. But we do hope to talk about this a little bit more to try and we know more students are vaccinated. We just need to make sure that we get that information. One of the things of note, if you are between 12 and 18 and vaccinated, if there is a close contact and you are a participant in an extracurricular activity, you then do not have to be quarantined from that activity. So that's one of the things in our giant flow chart. So it is something that is definitely something that's important. But even more than that, we want to track to make sure that our schools are safe places. So we know that the community has over a 90%, and I think it was 88 for 12 and over. So we have some vaccinated folks who we would love to know whether they are vaccinated or not. Just one last plug and then I'll move on. We do keep this information private, much like your Tdap, your mumps, your measles, all of those vaccinations that are required. We have it in the same kind of protected environment that we have for all of our medical information. So that question has come up, and rightly so, because it's just been such an unusual time. Okay, so moving on to kind of the updates and the positive things happening. We did have our Mountain View PTSA. We showed Los Altos last meeting, and they had a presentation and shared information on the Spartans Pause efforts for social emotional health, and certainly see the puppies on campus and other ways to de-stress. And it's just a fantastic program that has done wonders on our campuses, on our campus. And wanted to also share that this was our opening meeting, so we did have updates from administration. We also, as you mentioned, we had a couple of good pictures. You can see, this is where your photo, those of you who just took them, will go into the next round. But we did have our spotlight and celebrated Gay Krause from Krause Center. So that was a positive event last meeting. I also wanted to share that in this room, we have our MVLA Foundation has been doing a text-a-thon last week, and they were very successful. They raised last year $2 million that support specialized programs for our campuses, including the College and Career Center. They support innovation grants. They support science support within the classroom, and PSAT tests, and many other things that really are the glue that helps make our district even stronger. And I did want to share, personally invite any staff who are interested to, and board members, to the phone-a-thon, which is October 6th, and dinner will be provided, but also let you know that you may get a phone call that evening. And so this is really part of that united effort to help support our schools. So thank you to them. All right. One thing that we are continuing to do that we're going to continue post-pandemic, that was a pandemic measure, was we had a fireside chat with admissions officers. And so just last week we had a fireside chat, and we heard information from Duke University, University of Chicago, Williams College, UCLA, Northeastern, Yale, and Angela Price helped put this presentation together. And it will be released this week, and it has information about how things now are changing post-pandemic, what that looks like as far as requirements of vaccinations for incoming students and staff. And once again, they're really going to talk strongly about the need for a holistic review and what they do for that holistic review. So that presentation will be released, and I know, and special thanks to Angela, who helped coordinate and put everything together. So those fireside chats are probably here to stay. It's a great way to talk to people from around the country as well. So just some quick shots. Our dance classes are back and masked, and this is a shot of Mountain View and the dance class. This was the, I believe, the after-school class. We also, as was mentioned by Riley, Ms. Bissonette and I went into Ms. Woolfolk's class to ask students about things that were important to them, and certainly to learn from them, from their experience within their first month. So this is the beginning of a series of student voice conversations. So we will be coming to Mountain View, but also visiting other classes. And as you mentioned, lunch was certainly a topic, traffic in the morning, a lot of information about that, and some ideas around construction that we might need to look at. Particularly restrooms were brought up, but in general, an even larger conversation about academics and what is happening within the classroom, and what we all should be aware of. One big note that I thought was important was that really coming back is still a shock to all of us. So the idea of taking a deep breath and not zooming through everything like we had never had a pandemic, and just kind of having, that realization and balance within the classroom, that was something that was brought up. And I think that was a real important message. All right, MVLA Parent Speaker Series, which is also supported by our foundation, will be Tuesday night and Thursday night. Tuesday night, Ron Lieber will speak about the price you pay for college, an entirely new roadmap. I'm looking forward to that, kind of an intriguing title. And then the opposite of spoiled, raising kids who are grounded, generous, and smart about money. So those are two things that are coming up this week. Always want to put in a plug for our COVID-19 FAQ. Any question you have, I promise you, is answered there, and if not, and updated regularly. So that is an important thing right on the front of MVLA.net's website. And then important dates, I mentioned the speaker series. I did want to just reiterate that at Mountain View and Ava, I believe you stated it, that there's a homework-free weekend, October 9th through 12th. And so that is something happening there. And then upcoming meetings, October 12th and the 25th. And then, of course, SAT, PSAT testing, October 13th. So October is starting out to look like a very busy month. So that being said, I think this is Mountain View versus Los Altos. Okay, but I did want to end with just a note that as our athletics are back, that we are recommending masks outside and requiring masks inside, and are very pleased to say, knock on wood, that our students are still able to play, and we have not had to close anything down at this time. So with that concludes my report. Thank you.
Okay, so we are at item 13.1, which is district organizations. And I don't know if Mr. Campbell is here this evening. No, correct? Okay. So we will head toward item 14.1, which is public comment on items not on the agenda. So if you are wishing to share something with us that is not on the agenda tonight, this would be right now. And I have two cards. Yeah, I have two green cards. So Doug Traina, forgive me if I've said that incorrectly. Hello.
Got as well as anybody does. Thank you. Good evening. My name is Doug Traina. My address is 1700 Martinez Way in Morgan Hill. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak with you this evening. I'm a proud graduate and alumni of the Mountain View Los Altos School District, specifically Oak Avenue Elementary, Block Junior High, and Mountain View High School, formerly named Awolf High School. And that actually brings me to my reason for speaking with you tonight. Pardon my nervousness, my voice. As you may know, what's now the Mountain View High School campus was opened in 1961 and was named Chester F. Awolf High School. The school is named in honor of Chester Awolf, who was a longtime Mountain View High School district trustee, Mountain View Citizen of the Year in 1954, and recipient of many other local honors for his considerable service to the Mountain View community. He was also present at the groundbreaking of all three of the district's high schools. Mr. Awalt was much loved by Awalt students and was a frequent attendee at many of the school's events. I brought some additional information and history on Mr. Awalt, which I'll be leaving with you tonight. The campus was renamed Mountain View High School in 1981 after the original Mountain View High School on Castro Street was closed due to redistricting activities. I'm here this evening to request the district's consideration of renaming the campus back to its original name, Chester F. Awalt High School. I'm not alone in this request, and in support of it, we have a petition asking for your consideration. This petition was initiated via the change.org website, where it is still active. As of today, it's garnered 370 signatures from alumni of the school and other community members. So there's clearly a groundswell of support for the request. We also note there's a recent local precedent for such a request. In June of this year, the Mountain View Wisman School District renamed Huff Elementary School to Amy Amai Elementary School, after Amy Amai, who also had strong ties to Mountain View and who had been active in the district. We believe our request is reasonable and that the renaming would continue to honor an individual who was very instrumental in Mountain View Los Altos High School district history. We are aware that the gymnasium on the Mountain View High campus does have a memorial plaque to Chester Awalt, but with all due respect, we believe this is only a minor concession to the history of the school. While we are requesting renaming of the campus in full, if this is not deemed viable, then perhaps a hybrid name, such as Awalt Mountain View High School, could be considered, or perhaps some portion of the campus could be named in Mr. Awalt's honor, for example, a Chester F. Awalt Student Activities Center. I have for each of you a copy of the petition, some background on Chester F. Awalt, and a transcript of my comments tonight, which also includes my contact information. I'd welcome the opportunity to speak with you in any further detail that might be helpful, but in any event, I do appreciate your time and attention and look forward to your consideration and feedback.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out.
Thank you. And here's.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, so our second speaker is Claudia Hebel. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm Claudia Hebel. I live at 1001 Suffolk Way in Los Altos, and both of my children went to Mountain View High School. Tomorrow, September 28th, is National Voter Registration Day. I'm here representing the League of Women Voters of the Los Altos Mountain View area. And the League has been doing voter education and registration activities at both Mountain View and Los Altos High Schools for many years. On behalf of the League and my co-leader, Claire Noonan, I would like to thank Mountain View High School and Los Altos High School teachers and administrators for their enthusiastic collaboration, especially the principals at both schools and Nate Bowen and Andrea De Francesca at each school. The League created a video, Prepare for Democracy, which is on our YouTube channel, which was used at the high schools today for their registration efforts. It is narrated by League member Abby Longcore, who also graduated from Mountain View High School. And it gives a brief history of the right to vote in the United States and why it's so very important. The plan today was to show the video to over 1,300 students at the two schools in the US History AP, Government, and Government AP classes. Then eligible students connected directly to the Secretary of State's, California Secretary of State's website to register or pre-register. In California, you can pre-register to vote if you're 16 or 17, and then register to vote when you're 18. Other students who were not eligible at this time for any reason were able to log onto websites about voting and civic engagement. So anyway, I just want to thank the district for your support of these efforts.
Thank you, Claudia, very much. Yeah, the
Yeah,
that happened today.
yeah,
Yeah, Viva.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, this has been at least a couple year-long project, and I know the video was a Herculean effort. And thank you for partnering with our schools and increasing the voices of the younger generation, which is fabulous. Yay. And thank you for coming and telling us that you did it. I knew you did it, but thank you for telling us that you did it. Okay. We are on to the consolidated motion, which is item 15.
So I move that we approve consolidated motion 15.1 to 15.8.
Second. Okay. Riley, how would you like to vote? I agree. Thank you. And Abba? I approve. Thank you. So back to the board, all in favor? Aye. And Phil is waving, so that's 5-0 on the consolidated motion. And nothing was pulled. So we are on to item 17.1, which is our middle college update.
All right, thank you. Tonight we will hear a presentation on our middle college, and I know that they've had a wonderful start to their year. So with that, we have the wonderful middle college team here. I see the t-shirts, and I would ask if our team could come to the front. And thank you for being here this evening. Good to see you.
Good to see you in person. So what we thought we'd do is kind of talk a little bit about what we did last year, some of the highlights and some of the challenges, and then kind of update you on what's going on this year. So first, I would like to thank you for the support in expanding the program. Because of that, we are able to serve twice as many students, and it's really been a great kickoff. So some of the highlights from the 2021 years, we expanded the program. So we added 2 new staff members, Alicia and Marciano. And we increased our enrollment. Last year, we had over 100 students in the program. Our numbers this year are a little bit lower, but we're expecting that to increase. One of the unique things that we did is that we started using pods. So what we saw in the spring of 20, we started off with the idea that we would be asynchronous. Like that was the best idea. That lasted about a week. Kids were completely unplugged. So then we started doing synchronous work with them. Their attendance was very, very poor. And students were really disconnected. So we met before 21 to say, what can we do to engage these kids in the class? So we decided to split our classrooms into pods. So we would see our juniors on Mondays and Wednesdays and our seniors on Tuesdays and Thursdays. And rather than having a class of 25 or 30, we would have smaller classes of 10 or 15. And it was amazing. The engagement level increased dramatically. Our attendance was fantastic. And it was a joy to really be working with 12, 14 kids at a time. So it was really a good model that we figured out. We were able to include some community activities. We had Thursday game days. We had virtual game days. We started a Discord server with our students. We learned about this cutting edge technology. For us, it's cutting edge. We're a little older. Like I said, the attendance was amazing last year. I think we were certainly in the mid to high 90s with most of our classes, so it was pretty amazing. We renamed the program. We have 2 cohorts now. We had to figure out like how are we going to distinguish between cohort A and cohort B. So we thought, well, we'll name them after famous people. We'll name them after concepts, and then we just decided that we would name them after values that we were trying to promote. So the names are Middle College Agency and Middle College Understanding. You can see on our shirts. It works well together, Middle College Agency and Understanding. So that's pretty cool. Challenges, we expanded the program. And we definitely had some challenges, especially that it was online. We were not working together in the office. We had plenty of meetings on Zoom. But it wasn't the same, so it was definitely a challenge. Another thing is that Marciano and Alicia had their entire class was new, so they were first year seniors. They didn't have that carryover from the previous year, or students that knew the middle college culture. So that was very challenging to kind of establish a culture and a connection, which they did a great job with that. creating community was something that we faced, a challenge that we faced. So we did things like, after hours study halls where students could come and hang out and do homework together, and also socialize. And of course, we had our Thursday game days. We were able to do some community events at Foothills, but so we partnered with the student services at Foothill, and I think maybe 4 or 5 Fridays they brought in speakers. So we brought the whole community together, and it's pretty dynamic experiences. And a challenge was finding ways to connect with students online. We tried our best, and I think the best addition that we made was switching to pods. And that was pretty good. So Marcia,
Yeah.
So if I could just ask on that
Sure.
one, so for students for last year, for students that were new to middle college, so it's going to be their first year, what are the creative ways you have to do to get them connected?
So we're going to go over a couple of those ways.
Oh,
now.
perfect. Okay.
One, Zoom is tiring, right? As we know, it's especially tiring trying to put on the show on a computer screen. We really lucked out. I think Elise and I really lucked out that Mike and Trish chose a cohort of students who had a desire to be in the program, and they were very kind to us, very kind to us. And there was a spirit of community early on. How to foster that, we had to be creative. And so what you're looking at here, for example, we know that you know about the middle college prom that was held at Alta Vista High School that doesn't look like Alta Vista High School. But also we had a number of student-generated events. The prom was student-generated. This was our cohort's capstone event, but they wanted a movie night. And so if we were to flip the camera around, there's a movie screen on the other side. We did this throughout the year. So we would have game day or events in the park. We had pizza parties. We did things like that was still COVID safe. But any excuse we could find to get the kids together, the students together, we took advantage.
I think for purposes of folks on YouTube, can I have you guys step to the mic as we
Oh,
proceed with the
absolutely. Sorry,
presentation?
sorry.
I mean, you project, Mr. Tuber. Okay, but.
Hi, Bill.
Okay, so highlights, we're back on campus, and the kids are getting to know Foothill. And again, that institutional memory is not there. Our senior class, both of the senior classes have never been on campus. So during orientation, we realized how much our seniors supported us in the past to be like, oh, walk up to class. Oh, you don't know where it is. Okay. So we're enjoying it. We're really enjoying being back. It's really fun to see the kids in person, and I think they are loving it. Our enrollment, we have 94 kids right now. We're hoping to increase up to 100 in January. And we have 2 kids who are interested in joining us in January. And so I think we're going to be sending notices out to the schools to accept more students. We went to the beach, we went up to the city. So we had some really wonderful field trips during our orientation, and it was just wonderful. I loved it. The leadership of our senior class, the classes that we had last year, they really ran our orientation. We had a day in Cuesta Park where they lead group kind of team building activities. And it's great. I mean, Mike and I and Marciano and Alicia, we just kind of stand back and watch as our seniors run the whole program. And, they switch from different games, and they really led all their classmates through it. So that was wonderful. Our challenges, many of the Foothill classes are asynchronous, and asynchronous classes with high school students are challenging. Getting them to understand you really do have to start working. Our office space, well, we had a lot of meetings with Foothill. We ended up in a bigger office space, but it's just temporary. So we're hoping to find a permanent big home on the Foothill campus where we can comfortably have like our little student center as well as our office space. Right now, it's a little bit awkward, but we're working through it. the administrative support staff at Foothill is still online. And so often our students are wandering around looking for the smart shop. Well, the smart shop isn't open, so they can't get their bus fast. And stuff that is really comfortable for Mike and I, it's just not there. The administrators at Foothill are doing everything. They're really kind of amazing. But the support staff isn't back yet. And then just the transitions of being online, where we felt pretty comfortable because we were online all year last year from September to June. And then transitioning back to the classroom, for all of us, I think it's like a whole new thing. It's like, oh, 30 kids in a class. Whoa, what do we do with that? So, so I think that's been a bit of a challenge, but I think we're all really enjoying it and having a great time being back. Yes.
How many of the students are from our campuses? Because I know we share with Palo Alto too.
I think we have a slide a little bit later.
Yeah.
I think it's 46.
I have trouble breaking the kids into groups, so don't ask me.
No, I don't. We love them all. It's just, I was curious.
Yeah,
The idea is for it to be split.
to split it. Yeah.
And we had a little bit of little transition at the beginning of the year. We had some students that we were expecting to show up and decided
Right.
to want to go back to the high school.
Yeah.
I think kids not having been in school for a year,
Right.
you know, school doesn't seem like such a bad place.
Right.
These are fantastic.
Yeah.
Some students are looking for something.
I think there was a pull back to the regular high schools, but the kids that we have, I think it's really meaningful for them to be there, and they're really enjoying it.
Yeah.
So thanks for your support.
Prior to this, the enrollment was 30 and 30. Is that about right for
Yes.
the two? And so now we've expanded, you would think that the max would be 120, is that right?
Right.
So we're looking at 94.
Yeah, we kept it. We really decided we wanted to keep it at 100. 120 is a lot. When we have 60 kids at 30 and 30 in a class, and then suddenly we have an emergency, then we've got 32, 33, 34, 35. So we wanted to keep those classes smaller, and then we could feel free to accept any emergencies. So far, the emergencies haven't come, but I think that's kind of a honeymoon at the traditional high schools. I think they're going to start trickling in again. And
You're
so,
looking at about 25 for each one of us.
yeah, 25.
Uniqueness that I feel about middle colleges, you have the students that have
Right.
need that we can't offer in our
Right.
mainstream schools. And that gives them the ability to communicate and bond
Right.
as a team, which I
Right.
think is really important for them to be back in person.
Yes,
So
it
now we're
is.
looking at 25. And the other question is between the two, so 25 and 25, 50 are the same grade level. How do you interact between the 50 of you? I mean, is it
Oh, okay,
pretty
so
different, or
we
do you-
have, Mike and I have 50 students that we teach, which is like 25 seniors and 25 juniors. And Alicia and Marciano have 50 students that they teach. And one of our goals when Mike and I were trying, before they came on board, Mike and I were trying to figure out, like, how would we do this? Would we have junior teachers who would teach the juniors? I mean, that would be nice. You teach 50 juniors and then teach 50 seniors. But we decided that really we would lose something. And that was having the students in a cohort for 2 years. And I'll tell you, as an educator, getting to follow the kids, I'm getting chills just thinking about it. Getting to follow the kids from their beginning of their junior year until the end of their senior year is probably the most rewarding thing. And I think it's wonderful for the students, and they really bond with each other and they bond with us. And so to be in that same cohort for 2 years, we did not want to lose it. And that's why we decided to do 2 sections of the program side by side rather than splitting it by grade level. I mean, honestly, teaching, it would be easier to just have one prep, right? But I think that it's really the best way to go.
Yeah, we wanted to preserve what was working.
Right.
Yeah.
And those strong cohorts, I think, they really work. Not that the kids aren't friends and they don't overlap, but when they're really in class together and they're building those bonds, I think it's really nice to have the 50 and 50. And when your classes get up to 30, 35 kids, that's really hard, especially with kids with a lot of needs. Yeah, it's hard for them.
Braille, you said, I appreciate it.
Yeah, sure. Okay, that's me.
So one of the last points on the previous slide was transitions, and how do we try to ease that transition from an online environment back to school? As you know, a number of our students have some particular needs. What was working for others at the traditional site wasn't necessarily working for them. And so that's one of the reasons why we were hoping for smaller class sizes. I've spent my entire teaching career in alternative education at the De Anza Middle Program, at Alta Vista, and then now the Foothill Middle College program. And we know that one of the things that connect them, that makes a student go to school where they didn't otherwise, is to feel that sense of community. So how did we try to build it or continue that community this year? Well, we tried our best with our orientation activities. We wanted to change the environment the students were in. And one thing that we did is we did a mural trip. And so we went to San Francisco, both cohorts. And as you can tell, there's a walking tour of some of the murals. But in addition, the highlight of the activity is that students created their own cohort mural. So Agency created one and Understanding created one. And they did it around the themes on why they attended middle college and what middle college is offering them. And these were the second year students, so the seniors who are familiar with the program now. And it's kind of like their cohort banner, their sense of pride. Once we get them back from the mural office, we will hang them in our office so that students have this sort of sense of collective pride.
Yeah, you should have seen us when we found out 2 days before that we couldn't buy BART tickets. It was bad.
It worked out. It worked out.
So it was interesting because at the time that we were planning for these slides, Bill was asking us, okay, so what's on the horizon? And our school year follows a lot of the Foothill calendar. Our orientation starts earlier, but our class days don't start until the end of September. And they don't also get out until the end of June. So at that point, what was on the horizon was also kind of our aspirations for the year. You may see some overlap in certain spaces. Things that we were really looking forward to is that we were very, very excited to be together, especially with some of our returning students that, you know, they had built this community over Zoom, in spite of the fact that it was virtual, and that now we get to kind of see how that plays out in person. And I can speak for definitely Marciano and I'm sure this is true for Trish and Mike as well, but like to have that spirit transfer over into an in-person setting where it was influencing younger students was so valuable to our orientation. We could not have scripted better the things that we heard them say casually to new students about how they felt a sense of belonging or what the role of their teachers were and how it was maybe different. And so that was really, really nice. And the kids are really enthused to be back academically too in our classes. Next, Canvas was actually the platform that we were using primarily last year. Foothill actually has a close relationship with working in Canvas, and they offer lots of training to their staff. It's not only like super useful in terms of logistics, but also very pedagogically sound. They put a big emphasis on how to use those virtual tools in a way that is good teaching. So it's kind of nice that we get to continue to use that tool this year, and that it dialogues really nicely with their college classes, because their college classes also take place on Canvas if they're asynchronous or hybrid. Even the in-person classes often make use of Canvas as a way to organize materials and to contact the professor. So we're very, very excited to maintain the use of Canvas. We want to keep our curriculum just as meaningful as it was for students last year. If Marciano's comment spoke to this a little bit, it's true. It's hard to engage over Zoom. And I think curriculum is one way that you can engage in addition to the sort of social relationships. So we realized when our meetings were less frequent with students over the course of the week that we had a little bit more limited scope in terms of coverage, but we got to go deeper in other ways. And so hoping to kind of keep that lens as we go back to in-person schooling and as we meet more in person, there's a potential to move a lot faster. And then at the same time, we maybe don't want to accelerate the pace just for the sake of accelerating the pace. We want to keep that same sort of depth and ease that was going on in our virtual setting as well, so it feels manageable and interesting for students. The activities are something that we're still looking to continue. We have a lot more freedom, I think, now to do it, now that we know a little bit more about local guidance and we're learning more about our kids and what they're comfortable with. So we're hoping to continue some of those events like prom, campouts if we get the opportunity. And, you know, now we have this office with a shared student space. So we have had students come in almost every morning to either complete work at the table or to seek advice for class registration, or even just sometimes to sit with each other on the couch. Challenges on the horizon, navigating the pandemic. And I know that's a very big one. I think we're all trying to navigate that challenge on the horizon. But especially, you know, because we hold our classes at Foothills campus, one challenge that was going on for us at the start of the year that we were anticipating was just that Foothill has guidance for their college level students on how to be safe on campus, and how do we guide our high school students through those processes, getting them to be really responsible with their daily check-ins. For instance, Foothill was requiring either proof of vaccination or some sort of proof of exemption. And so we had to make sure all of our students got that documentation squared away in time for our orientation, which was before the first day of Foothill's classes. So it was a little bit of a complex machine. They seem to have gotten through it, but we're anticipating that it'll be fun. It'll be a fun year of you know, rolling with the waves as they kind of come. And the kids are, again, handling it with so much grace and patience with us that they're really a joy to work with. So, yeah.
So earlier, Debbie, I believe you asked, or maybe it was Catherine, who asked about numbers. So we believe that you shared this data. These numbers have changed. So at the time that this snapshot was taken, there was 46 students from our district. That has decreased a little bit, partly because of the emergency cases, partly because students who were originally signed up to come decided to make the transition to, or the decision to stay at their home high school. We anticipate that come January, there is going to be a swell of demand because students are now returning to normal school. And our population often are students who maybe don't find what they need in that setting. As Trish said, it's a little bit of a honeymoon phase. So we're expecting January numbers, the demand to be quite high. We have worked with the counseling departments at Los Altos and Mountain View to try to share with students for those emergency cases, those students who might need us now, to send them our way. And we're for sure having some success in identifying students who will come at the start of the new semester. Any questions?
The only thing I can think is the enrollment system, my best guess is the pandemic. I mean, the program is incredible. You do a phenomenal job. I'm so glad we expanded it. And it's during a hard time when we had, you know, COVID starting and training and Foothill and how to interact with classes with Foothill and what you're doing. I think you've done a great job. I just think that it's slow because the pandemic, the environment we're in. And I worry that you'll be putting kids back on wait lists again. And so I truly support the program, and I appreciate all the work that you've done. And I know last year we watched you, and you know, it's hard. And I'd love to come up and visit. So,
Alicia and I are especially grateful you expanded the program.
Right. And I think it's important to be able to communicate to us, you know, what your needs are with Bill and through Bill, because, you know, we don't often hear what's going on up there as much, you know, the squeaky wheel. So, you know, please send us emails or, you know, talk to Dr. Meyer and let us know.
Yeah, well, we may need a new home. So that's
Okay.
that's gonna be the big thing. After the fall, we aren't really sure where we're gonna be out there, so, yeah,
That's on our radar then, right?
yeah.
All right.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you
Thank you so much for being here. Thank you.
Yeah, could I just say something before they leave? Hello?
So we're on to item 17.2, which is our ethnic studies course update. And Dr. Meyer, did you want to do a lead in or straight to?
I think a brief lead in. I want to thank the group that is about to present, and they have really put their heart and soul into the work on this very important topic. So I really look forward to this update. And with that, I would like to introduce our Associate Superintendent of Ed Services, Terry Fott. Terry.
Good evening, trustees. I'm pleased to be here tonight to discuss ethnic studies. Ethnic studies is a course that has many benefits for all of our students of all racial backgrounds. Hold on. There we go. The ethnic studies course dispels myths and builds connections as opposed to divisions amongst students. Research tells us that a well-designed and well-taught ethnic studies curricula that teach directly about races and racism produce higher levels of critical thinking and have positive impact on democracy outcomes, particularly when they include cross-group interactions. Studies also confirm that students who participate in ethnic studies are more academically engaged, develop a stronger stronger sense of self-efficacy and personal empowerment, as well as perform better academically and graduate at higher rates. We believe by examining the struggles and contributions of all groups, and in particular, our underrepresented groups, students can expand their perspective and better see themselves and their peers as a part of the story of the United States. You will hear, oops, there we go. As you will hear from our presentation tonight and our highly respected colleagues, Julie Yick and Nate Bowen from Mountain View High School and Derrick Milhart from Los Altos High School. They'll be giving you a big picture overview of ethnic studies. They will share the collaboration between the two schools that brought us here today and the next steps as we continue to develop our ethnic studies course. I would like to emphasize that tonight is our first presentation. We have just begun coming together. We have not yet vetted textbooks. We have not decided on or designed curriculum. These are the next steps of the curriculum task force, made up by some of the social studies teachers. We will keep you informed, as I know that this is an important topic. In fact, this has been an important topic for our state over many years. Several years ago, just as an example, Assembly Bill 216 was put forth to mandate the course be an option for student, but not require that they enroll. That morphed into AB 331, which is in 2019 started to require all students to take ethnic studies course. That was vetoed due to complications of the Assembly Bill, but in 2020, Assembly Bill 101 came forth. This Assembly Bill was just passed earlier this month in September. Assembly Bill 101 requires students graduating from California high schools by the year 2030 and after to have completed at least one semester of an ethnic studies course. And that these ethnic studies classes can be offered no later than a 25-26 school year. This Assembly Bill 101 also requires that locally developed ethnic study courses such as ours would have to be approved by a governing school board, and that this course must be proposed and presented at a public meeting and not approved at that meeting, but at the subsequent meeting, so that the time in between, the public has time to give comments and opportunities to express their views on the proposed course. Today, we are not proposing the curriculum for the course. We are telling you that we are committed and that we are on the journey, but we'll be returning back to you when it is time to bring forth our course curriculum. And with that said, I am now going to turn it over to Juliet to talk about ethnic studies.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Terry, and good evening, Board of Trustees, Dr. Meyer. It's wonderful to be here with you, and thanks for the opportunity to present For those of you who don't know me, I'm a social studies teacher at Mountain View High School. I've taught in the district since 2012, and I've been a very active part of this conversation at the site level, as I'm currently finishing my doctoral studies and have completed my dissertation research on high school ethnic studies curriculum and pedagogy. So I've spent the last year actually interviewing teachers from districts from San Diego up to Stockton. So I'm very familiar with a lot of the curricula that's offered in a variety of school districts. So with that in mind, I wanted to start by providing a definition of ethnic studies, which I'll just go ahead and read actually from this slide. So ethnic studies is the interdisciplinary study of race and ethnicity, with an emphasis on the experiences and contributions of communities of color. Students develop a deeper understanding of their personal identity, their racial and cultural background, and the diverse cultures of their peers. Students learn about the root causes and the impact of systemic racism and other forms of oppression. Ethnic studies teaches students about historical and contemporary movements for social change and ways to challenge racism and discrimination and positively transform their communities. So starting from that definition of ethnic studies, I'd like to elaborate on a few of the points that will be especially important in our community and for our district. Especially that last point, you know, ethnic studies kind of poses these big picture questions for students. So who am I? What's the story of my family and my community? And what can I do to contribute to positive change in the community, as well as in, you know, the Bay Area, the state, and the world? So many scholars, of course, have taught ethnic studies for many decades. Community activists have pushed for ethnic studies because of the real value and benefit for students. Dr. Dawn Mabalone and Dr. Al Camarillo are two very distinguished professors and historians of ethnic studies. And Dr. Al Camarillo wrote a letter of support for MVLA's ethnic studies, which he submitted to the Board of Trustees via email. I would like to take a moment just to read a very short quote from this letter. Dr. Camarillo wrote, "I write to lend my enthusiastic support for the proposal to include an ethnic studies curriculum requirement for ninth grade students in your district. Exposure to ethnic studies curriculum will help build a capacity for all students in the Mountain View Los Altos School District to develop a better understanding of ethnic and racial diversity, and at the same time gain knowledge that will contribute to the public good of our diverse society." So I want to highlight those words because I think they're very powerful and again speak to the importance of this course. So a few principles we're keeping in mind in our district, of course, in thinking about ethnic studies and the design. First of all, that we have a commitment to ensure that the curriculum is culturally responsive and inclusive, non-discriminatory, that the course is anchored in the Common Core standards, skill standards, and that it provides a multitude of opportunities to strengthen student civic engagement. As Terry mentioned a moment ago, we are just beginning to explore the process of what the curriculum might entail. So I'm going to walk through some possibilities just to give kind of some concrete examples of what might be included in our future ethnic studies course. So some example units that I've seen frequently in districts across the state include units on identity and stories, race, ethnicity, gender, and systems of power, the various social movements that have been led by communities of color, and units that are about transformation and social change. So I'm going to provide just a few examples of what that kind of might look like more concretely. So in an opening unit, for example, that's focused on identity and stories, students would be engaged in a lot of self-reflective work. They'd be really building community with other students in the class, because ethnic studies creates these opportunities for students to really learn about their own backgrounds, and it builds a strong sense of connection and community because we're really like learning and giving students the opportunities to learn about the rich diversity in Mountain View in our community. So it's really that every person's experience matters and is honored. Oftentimes that type of unit will culminate in a self-reflective essay or an autoethnography. And it provides kind of that initial opportunity to begin building the critical thinking skills and the social studies literacy skills, right? Because this will be a foundational course that will feed into, you know, the social studies 9 through 12, the vertical alignment. Additionally, a unit might focus on race, ethnicity, gender, and systems of power, right? In which students are learning about the importance of these different characteristics that historically have provided sometimes opportunities, and in other situations, barriers, right, to full access in our democratic society. A unit like that might include Socratic discussions, debates, analytical essays. Another movement, or excuse me, another unit, oftentimes will showcase the important contributions of the 4 core groups in ethnic studies. So African American and Black communities, Asian Americans, Latino or Latinx, and Native American and Indigenous communities. So that creates a lot of opportunities and possibilities for different types of creative instruction, right? But it might include research projects, writing essays, group work, possibly presentations on what they've been learning. And then finally, 4th unit might consist of transformation and change. So that's when students are really, beginning to explore issues that they're passionate about. There's often a focus on local issues. So students might engage in something called youth participatory action research, where they're digging into a local community issue, they're carrying out the research, and they're beginning to design potential solutions, right, or ways to improve that particular issue in the community. So it's a very powerful curriculum. And again, that's one possible, approach. Just briefly before I turn it over to my colleagues, I want to highlight that, again, the Common Core skills are really like the anchor for this, right? So throughout the course, students will be developing and strengthening, their historical thinking skills, literacy, asking questions, evaluating a diverse range of primary and secondary sources, exploring diverse points of view, academic writing, evaluating claims, and all kind of the standard skills that we already have integrated into 9th grade social studies, right? So again, they'll provide that foundation. So those are the main components that I really wanted to touch on. And so thank you for the opportunity to share this with you. And I'm going to turn it over now to Derrick Milhart to talk more about some of our common impacts.
Hi, I'm Derrick Milhart, the Social Studies Department Coordinator at Los Altos High School. I've been teaching in this district since 2004. But my history with the district goes way back before that. My wife was recognized for her 30 years of service to the district last month. So I've been around here for a while. I just want to talk to a little bit about the discussions we've had with Mountain View High School together to develop this course. Now, the impetus for ethnic studies has gone way back, and we've been thinking about this course for a long time. So probably 5-6 years ago, both Mountain View High School and Los Altos High School started to pull for student interest in an ethnic studies course. But the events of the summer of 2020, what was happening with the state kind of put a little bit more oomph to our efforts. We started to ramp up our efforts, and we started to talk together about what an ethnic studies course might be. So we reached out, started having discussions. We came up with some issues that we needed to really think about if we were going to actually do some kind of district-wide ethnic studies course. So these are the things we agreed with. The course had to be culturally responsive, inclusive, and non-discriminatory, as Terry discussed. It had to be aligned with the Common Core history standards explained by Julie. The course should not result in students becoming more attractive than they already are. So it was very important for us that the course be part of an effort to detrack our students and allow students to succeed at all levels, of whatever level they want to succeed in our social studies curriculum. We agreed that we would look at multiple schools' curricula, that we would look and examine and take the best of what was already out there, because there are a number of districts already doing this work. These models are all out there. We made a commitment that we were going to look at them. We're going to take a constructivist approach to this course, which means that we were going to be really inclusive. We're going to build bridges between groups. We're going to look at different contributions from different ethnic groups, and then we're going to have a focus really on critical thinking, something that we really wanted to see developed in our students. We want to make sure that the course didn't impede certain populations in the district from graduating. That we have a number of different students, we have a number of different student needs. We want to make sure that the inclusion of an ethnic studies requirement didn't cause any undue problems, difficulties in graduation for any of our students in the system. And finally, the courses must be of equal length across both of the schools. And so essentially, we came out with these 4 kind of major concerns or questions that we needed to address as we start developing the course. First, which grade level were we going to offer the course? There were two proposals really. One was for freshmen and one was for sophomores. And the real question was really where do you want to put the course in terms of skill development? If it's a freshman course, we're going to have to really develop skills and bring students together because that's what our freshman social studies courses have done traditionally. If it's sophomores, it creates a different set of issues. So we have to kind of decide where in the curriculum we're going to put that course. Was it going to be a year-long course or semester course? And there were arguments for both. We didn't want to make additional requirements. That's part of the issue of being a year-long course. However, there was always difficulty in trying to fit all the curriculum we wanted to address in a semester-long course. And so those were some of the things that we were thinking about. Master schedule, how did this course fit in with the other requirements that students had to take? We had to think about those issues as well. And finally, when would we actually be prepared to offer the course? Because we know that part of the challenge is to actually prepare a good course. If we're going to have everybody take it, the course has to be really, really, really high quality. So when would we be prepared to do that? So we have some proposals to do it, and I think Nate from Mountain View is going to talk to us about some of the proposals we had to deal with some of these questions.
Awesome. Okay. Yeah, so my name is Nate Bowen. I'm the department coordinator in social studies at Mountain View High School. And I haven't been in the district as long as some of these folks, but I have been teaching civics for about 16 years. And it's kind of cool. This is the first time I've actually spoken in front of an elected body rather than just teaching about it. So it's kind of neat to engage with it. So thank you for that opportunity.
Welcome.
Yeah, very cool. So as Derrick was saying, we had a bunch of questions that we had to work through, and I can answer some of those questions for you, and then Terry will follow up. So in 2020, 2021, that was the year, through a lot of Zooms. My predecessor, Maddie Morelia, held a lot of department meetings where we discussed those questions of how long is the course going to be, what grade, how is it going to fit in with the schedule and the other credit demands on our students. And what the district has proposed after listening to our questions and concerns was that this will be a freshman year course that all freshmen will take, and it will be a year-long class. And so that's the main takeaway from 2020, 2021. We're now in the fall of 2021, and we're working through the recommendation to you folks. And we're also in the process, the very real process of putting together our ethnic studies task force. One other consensus feeling that we had across both sites was, we've worked through the schedule stuff. Now's the time for action. We really see this as an opportunity to build something awesome and to build a really important and impactful course that will benefit all of our students. And so now we're finally getting to that point, and we're taking some real steps. We're meeting in both our departments and starting to vet curriculum, starting to build that common vision of what the course is going to be, a common understanding across all our department members, and working with other stakeholders within our schools to understand how this course fits in. So that's going to be 2021, 2023. What we're also thinking about is that we need some extended time to really make this course excellent. So for implementation purposes, we're looking at 2022, 2023, getting this course in front of a smaller group of students, an elective course, if you will, to try out our curriculum, to see how it works, to see what is going really well, to see what needs to be improved, so that in the 2023-2024 year, we can do the full implementation with all of our freshmen across both sites. And I want to speak a little bit more about the considerations that have gone into that longer runway, if you will. There's four kind of main things that we need to work out within our departments and within our school sites to make sure this course is really the top-notch, super quality course that we want it to be. First is the development of aligned vision and course objectives. I'm just thinking about my own department, meeting with the people in my department, and I ask them, what's ethnic studies? I get like 17 different answers. And we're very fortunate that we have folks like Julie, who are so engaged, so well informed. But we need to bring people up to that point where they all know what's going on, what this course is about, and have a real shared vision of what it's going to be. To that point, the second bullet point, we need teacher training and professional development to get folks ready to really do a great job teaching this course. In my opinion, and I can speak for the folks behind me, this is a foundational course. This is the course that freshmen are going to be coming in. It's going to really help shape their feeling about the Mountain View Los Altos community. It's going to give them, if it's done well, it's going to give them buy into that community. It's going to give them a sense of empowerment. It's going to give them the skills as well that they need to excel in their social studies courses and also maybe their language arts courses. And so we really, really want to do that well. We want to make this course excellent and have the training to do that. The third bullet point is also really important. We need to figure out and have discussions about how this course informs the subsequent courses in the scope and sequence of the social studies curriculum. So again, this is their entry-level course. This is their introduction to social studies. How will this shape their perspective for world studies? How will this shape this perspective for US history, civics, and economics? And then looking backwards, if you're an educator in those courses, how will this course inform the way you do your instruction in those classes, considering where students are coming from in the 9th grade of ethnic studies? So that's a really important discussion. It's going to take some time to figure out. And then finally, we need to coordinate with our partners in SEDI, EL, and special education departments to help craft meaningful and impactful courses in those departments as well. So all 4 things are things that take some time. We really, really want to do this right. We've already started having some really great, meaningful discussions. And so just to back up, and back up. I don't know how to back it up. Anyway, we're thinking of, again, a year 1 implementation, which would be the next school year for an elective course to try this thing out, and then a full implementation the following year in 2023. And with that, I'll give you over to Ted. Thank you very much.
Thank you. We're learning how to work the clicker here. There we go.
Yeah.
Okay, so to conclude, Nate actually did a great job of touching up on all of the big questions that were brought forth by the 2 sites in their collaboration. We did decide 9th grade, feeling that for the first year that students attend a high school, bringing them together and building community through diverse perspectives, feeling comfortable in their identity and the identity of others will only support their safety, their engagement, as well as build school culture and community for the rest of the years. For the length of the course, there's a lot of discussion between semester and full year. Los Altos back in 2019 proposed a full year course, did a nice job of showcasing the curriculum for a full year, as well as felt that spending time on the different units of ethnicities instead of trying to rush through them will only accomplish the mission and the goal that this is truly to set out for, and that is to build a respectful, diverse community at our schools. And that by having a year-long course, we'll be able to do that successfully without feeling like, oh, I got 1 week left to finish this up before I get to the next unit. And then lastly, the master schedule. The freshman ethnic studies class pushes world studies, which is currently the freshman history class, to the sophomore year. So that means that sophomores can choose between world studies, AP Geography, Human Geography AP, AP World History, or AP European History. And that satisfies the state's requirement for 10 credits of world history. Ethnic Studies removes the CWY credit, and so that credit is no longer a part of our curriculum, and instead the Ethnic Studies 5 credits is going to go to replace that, as MVLA has a 15 credit requirement for global studies. 10 of that comes from world studies, and then 5 of that will come from ethnic studies. And then we just continue on the path as the sequence goes for the rest of our social study classes. US or AP US History offers the junior year, and Civics Econ or AP Mat Gov will be offered the senior year to finish up our students. And to that extent, I just want to remind us all that we are in the beginning stages of planning and developing this curriculum. There are still unanswered questions, as many beginning stages has, and I have very competent and strong members of the social studies team and task force that I look forward to supporting as they lead us in developing this curriculum. And I look forward to bringing them back potentially in earlier spring to tentatively to have a curriculum to be able to propose. And with that, oh, there we go. Thank you. And we'll take any questions if you have them.
I have a quick clarifying and then perhaps other clarifying, and I know that we've got folks in the community who want to speak as well. Exactly, so no, if there's some clarifications, let's go ahead and get those very quickly. Even though that second semester would be an elective credit, the whole year is mandatory as far as we're concerned, right?
Correct.
Okay, great, thank you. That was my clarifying.
Okay, I guess you can go as clarifying questions. One is, so I heard alignment, and I just want to make sure this is alignment between the two schools, and that's the goal is to have the same curriculum at both schools. Is that right? Okay. And the second, you mentioned the process. I understand we're still working it through. I just wanted to understand. So, is the process also to then come back to the board later this year for the elective year next year for that curriculum, or it's going to be a 2-year process? So you actually, in terms of approving of a curriculum, it could happen next school year, and this elective is just it's not necessarily will not necessarily be a part of basically providing curriculum to us and approving it.
So we have to see how this rolls out this year. Our goal would be able to come back in the spring with the curriculum, at which that will be the pilot. Now, why we need a 2-year course is that there's a big difference between having a very broad overview and being able to be trained and develop the curriculum to its entirety of implementation. And that's where, as Nate so nicely articulated, that 2 years is really important. One, to bring, basically the course information sheet forward and say, this is our curriculum, is one element. And then the other much stronger need of time is actually the development of that into lessons, into assessments, as well as Nate said, you ask a social studies teacher what ethnic studies is, and you'll get 17 different answers. The training, as our social studies teachers have asked for, to help them feel comfortable and competent in teaching sometimes very sensitive topics. And so
I guess, yeah, so the question is, I guess, but for the pilot, are you going to come back to us what do you think that for the elective year, for the pilot year, what the curriculum could look like?
Yes.
Okay, that's one. Thank you.
Yeah. Could I just add to that?
Just a second, Phil. Debbie's going to go and then I see your hand. Thank you.
Sorry, Phil. So we've been getting from the board various emails from community members that have information on them that we read that personally I'm not at a level where I can evaluate it, right? But I'm hoping that we're forwarding them to you as a possibility of something. I'm not advocating for everybody to send you emails to what the curriculum should be,
yes.
but I'm just saying that.
No, that was very sincere.
Yeah, I know.
I got one today, and I found it very respectful and very helpful in reading the different perspectives of our community. And that's our job as a public school, is to listen to the perspectives of our community and take them into account.
Okay,
So
so that's just wanted to know, because I think I read them and I'm not capable of making the assessment of what should be in the curriculum or not. I'm leaving that up to you all to recommend what is best for us. So just that we do get this out for the information that seems valuable, and just wanted to be able to pass it on to you if Dr. Meyer feels that we should. So thank you.
Thank you. Yes, please.
Phil, go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, just to go on with what Sanjay said, I'm glad to hear that you plan to bring the curriculum back in spring. I hope you will bring it. In fact, I think you absolutely need to bring it back in early spring, say by the beginning of May, and that it will be a very detailed curriculum, because we are trying to develop our own curriculum. And that means we are exposed to many of the pitfalls that the state fell into in its first attempt to develop a model curriculum. Now we have before us their failings and successes, so it shouldn't be quite so bad for us. But the legislation that required the model curriculum also required a minimum 45 days of exposure to public comment. So that's why I'm hoping, and really I would personally insist upon a detailed curriculum at the beginning of May so that we can give our community adequate time to look into it and do the kind of close investigation that Debbie just said right now she is not capable of doing. But I think we have lots of members, including Debbie for that matter, who with a little study can be capable of rendering decisions on that curriculum. But it must be detailed, it must be explicit, and it has to do all the things we're claiming of it. In addition, I would point out the obvious. I'll be Captain Obvious here. There's potential in this ethnic studies program and in any ethnic studies program that's being developed to have controversial ideas and to risk treading into the area where it stops being education and starts being indoctrination. The community is very worried about those two areas. With respect to controversial ideas, the Ed Code requires that a balanced presentation be made whenever that happens in a course. So I'm assuming we will comply with that. And in terms of indoctrination, I think we have to be very sensitive about how we are grading this course. It is one thing to teach students not to be racist and how to challenge racism. It's another to pressure them into participating in social activist activities. So I think we have to be very careful in how we navigate that space. And I hope that the detailed curriculum will spell it out for the elective course, the pilot course next year. And also, as you develop the further course, that you continue to heed the lessons and the dangers inherent in doing that. Thank you.
Thank you, Phil. And noted for the request early May with the detailed curriculum. Thank you.
My question first is, are trustees allowed to take the class? And I'm not kidding, because it's some detailed addressing of topics that we were never taught when we went to school, and it would be useful for us to be exposed to too. The other thing is, since the freshman class is coming up in a couple of years, we'll have the benefit of this. Is there any way to be out of sequence or take it as an elective in addition to something else you're taking as a upperclassman, so that people that are particularly interested in this area could also have it, even if they weren't freshmen?
Sure. Yeah, thanks for the question. Yes, I think that's an excellent point for further discussion with the task force and teachers from both sites. But I do think it'd be really promising, and there are numerous districts such as San Francisco Unified that have an advanced ethnic studies class that's an elective, and oftentimes they do so in partnership with like a CSU university or community college. So the students are actually getting college credit for the class as well. So I think that would be a really valuable thing to look into. And we have a lot of great partnerships that we could, deepen and explore with some of these universities. So yeah, thank you for offering that.
I should let Riley or Ava chime in if you want to, but we are coming back to us after community comments. So did you have any clarifying questions for the crew?
Could I ask a question? I was wondering about health, because previously CWI and health have been 2 semester long for sophomores. So if world studies is pushed back, where would that kind of put health in the discussion?
So great question, and that is one of our topics that we've been talking about for a while, understanding the value of health and what it brings forth to our students in terms of safety and mental health and sex education. And we're playing around with a couple of different places that it could go in the curriculum that supports the concepts of the health, as well as our students meeting graduation requirements and having options for courses.
And so with a 2-year runway, that's one of the aspects where we have a couple of years to really kind of massage that one out so it fits best. Thank you for pointing that out.
Just a comment. First of all, I want to thank all of you, and I know there will be other comments, but I wanted to commend you for your work. 5 to 6 years on this topic, and never really has the issue been about whether we would do it. It really is how best to do it. And I think that's a critical point I wanted to make, because the board, the community, and especially our teachers have always been thinking about how, not whether, and that does not exist everywhere. So I did want to commend you for that. I also agree and love the idea of a heterogeneous foundational course. So I will emphasize that I think that's a great way to come in, and it will really provide that foundation for all of the other courses, not just the social studies pathway. So I think that's a critical lens that we would provide our students if that is to occur. And just 2 other points that come to mind. One, visiting, and to the degree that we can help provide the opportunity for you to visit courses that are already going on. And then secondly, just that there is a pathway, a 9th through 12th grade social justice pathway that also occurs in the state. And that could be something too that is actually something that, Julie, I know you're probably aware of, but it really is a pathway for social justice all the way up, and it partners with the university. So just those ideas I wanted to share, and thank all of you for the hard work that you've done.
Okay, so at this point, I'm going to take community comment. So I think maybe we let the 4 of you sit down and we'll take community comment, but then we definitely will want you to come back up, because I know that we've got more comments and questions. So if you are interested in speaking on this item, the ethnic studies item, could you just pop your hand in the air so I can get an idea of speakers? At least 3 back there. Okay, we're good, great. And could you please complete a green card? We've got green cards in the back. So if you haven't already, I don't know that we have any in hand yet, right? Okay, thanks. Sorry, I meant to make that announcement earlier in the evening. Sir, in the front row, would you like to come up and go first? And then afterwards, could you please complete a green card for us?
Sure.
Great. And then for the rest of you waiting to speak, if you guys want to snag a green card and you can turn that in while he's speaking, that would be great. Thanks. They're in the back corner. Thank you. Hi, welcome.
Well, good evening. Yeah, hi. I'm Seth Donnelly. I teach at Los Altos High School in the district for 22
Sorry,
years.
the mask threw me. Apologies.
Yeah, no, it's nice to see you. I like what my colleagues said. I've been teaching in elected bodies, and it's good to actually, we interacted through Zoom, you know. I just wanted to say that there's, when you heard from the team that just spoke, there's a huge amount of support. That there's a lot of teachers that can't be here tonight. Like, I'm in the social studies department. I interact a lot with Julie and folks at Mountain View High. This is I think, a proposal that teachers, students are really behind. And in particular, the idea of it being a 9th grade, for that, bringing out, for reasons already mentioned, you know, and for it to be a year-long course to do it right. We've looked at Mission High School, for example, in San Francisco, where they do it very well and it gets more engagement. And then they also offer an elective for older students who want to continue. But I really wanted to speak out in support of and also voice appreciation for what my colleagues have done. I hope that the board can vote, that you guys can vote and set up a commitment this year that this is the plan that will be adopted. And of course, we can always bring back the curriculum as it gets finessed for approval on the curriculum itself. But I think that sort of baseline commitment to say, in the year 2023 to 2024, we will have ethnic studies for all incoming 9th graders. That gives us a sense of security and orientation, you know, to what we're doing. So that was my main comment. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, so I have another green sheet from Chrissy Coe.
Hello, my name is Chrissy Coe. I'm currently a junior at Mountain View High School. And I've come to board meetings before to talk about ethnic studies, and I want to relay them message that I'm really excited that there's been a commitment in implementing them. But I also do want to point out that I feel like there's a big urge for students to be involved in the implementation of this course and also creating this course. I do like that we said that that the teachers have been studying different and analyzing different curriculums out there, and organizations that I've been a part of and organizations that we worked together with have also done that same work and found critiques and things that should not be implemented within those state curriculums. And in addition to that, students are going to be the ones in this course, in the classrooms taking these courses. But in addition to that, we're the ones engaging on campus. And what's really important about ethnic studies is that it's personalized and tailored to your community. In order to make that happen, I think the student perspective is extremely valuable because we have the best idea of understanding where our peers are at when it comes to understanding racism, which becomes an invaluable lens on creating this course. So thank you again for taking the initiative on this, and we really look forward to continue working with you guys. Thank you.
Thanks, Chrissy, for being here. Okay. They're in the back corner right here. Yeah, and I don't have another one, but you're welcome to speak before you turn, fill it out unless somebody else is ready to go. Just come on out.
Sorry,
That's
I
fine.
didn't plan on speaking. I'm Tony Mose. Thank you for allowing me to speak tonight, and thank you for all the work you've done. I just want to reiterate that we take into account not only what the students obviously want to be included in the curriculum, but that you reach out to the people of color to help to finesse the curriculum. Because as you know, we live in a very non-diverse community in terms of Black and Brown people in particular. And so I just want to make sure that those voices are heard directly from those people so that the representation is done accurately and appropriately. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good to speak in front of you guys all again. I just want to once again commend everybody who's here today. In this room, we have a lot of people who've been fighting for ethnic studies for a long time. And I'm just here to once again say how important it is that you guys commit for a 9th grade implementation so they can really know what to plan for going forward, as well as making sure the community is involved. I know everyone, especially people in this crowd, will be in very close contact with the teachers and staff as well as you guys to help make this a really community-driven course. So, and once again, thank you guys for being open with these dialogues and conversations as well. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much. Okay, and I've got Maya Acharya. Oh, sorry. Yeah, go. Yeah. You're here. You should speak.
Thank you everyone who gave the presentation. I've been working with Yosh over the past year, who just spoke before me, and I just also wanted to voice my support for having a 1-year requirement for 9th graders. I mean, I couldn't imagine how excited I would have been as a 9th grader if I had the opportunity to have taken that class. So it'll be really cool for those students who get to be able to do this and have that commitment from you guys. So thank you.
Absolutely. Okay, so now I have Maya Acharya.
Hi, everyone. I'm Maya Acharya. I graduated from Los Altos in 2015, and I graduated from Stanford in 2020 with a degree in history. And I also took a lot of ethnic studies classes while I was there as well, which were really fantastic. And I was also part of a group of like young alumni and students and teachers who did like some surveys and reporting on the need for ethnic studies about a year ago. And that was really affirming work for me, kind of affirmed a lot of the experiences I felt like I had in high school and wasn't able to talk about until like years later. And I just want to note that like we have a lot of young alumni in the space, like myself and Keenan and Yoshi and others, and we're like in our 20s and could be doing anything with our evenings. And I think the fact that we're here is like just really telling to how much we think this is necessary and also how much we care and how much like this community is strong and is a really great place where I think this could take off and just make our community even stronger. To the point of indoctrination that was brought up earlier, I feel like I was indoctrinated going to Los Altos High School to tolerate racism and not feel like I could speak up about it. And also to only see certain things as markers of success, to only see certain career paths as markers of success, to not value activism as a valuable way to bring positive change to the world around me. And I really think that if I had had a class like this during my time at Los Altos High School, I would have been set up for success much better than I was. And I learned a lot from my peers when I got to Stanford who had had experiences and classes and education like this in their high school settings or at their homes or wherever. And I'm so grateful for them. And I wish that I had been set up for success a little bit better in that regard and not just kind of drilled into that there were only certain markers of success and certain classes that were important. Yeah, I think that's pretty much everything I wanted to say. Thank you so much for your time and to all the work that like so many people in this room have been putting into this for the past year, especially and years before that too. So thank you.
Okay, and Catherine Lai.
So I have a whole thing written up, but it kind of got pretty covered in their presentation, so I'm not going to go through the whole thing again. But I guess I just wanted to, again, advocate for the class. From a student's perspective, I'm a current senior at Los Altos High, and I think two things I definitely want to like emphasize. Sorry, I just realized there's a mic. Two things I definitely want to emphasize of like what I would have wanted to see if I had been able to take the course, which I'm very jealous and upset that I didn't. But two things I think that could be really important to be incorporated into the curriculum are conversations between students just about how different components of their identity, because there are obviously a bunch of factors that play into our identity or our ethnicity or gender or sexual orientation. And I think all those aspects and having conversations on how that affects the way that we live in society in America, in the world, and being able to facilitate those conversations within a classroom where kids can learn from each other and just like be able to grow in their perspectives is something that I think is a great opportunity with this class and something that I wish I would have gotten through the class if I had been able to take it. And the other thing is just kind of highlighting accomplishments and also what communities have overcome, because I think something that I always feel like is a little bit lacking in terms of like, I guess in Asian American representation is I never feel like there's moments where, you know, in the curriculum, I'm like, oh, I'm so like proud that we were able to do this thing, because it's not really reflected of like big accomplishments or strides that our community has made. And so I feel like that could definitely, I guess, have reinforcement in the curriculum just to celebrate communities and have students feel like empowered that their communities have been able to make these strides and that there's still a lot of potential for future change. So those are just kind of, I guess, the things that I wanted to emphasize the most. But again, I'm also very grateful, as everyone said, about the fact that this is moving forward and that there's this pretty clear commitment to making the course like a real thing soon, because it was something that I was talking about with my friend, like the end of my sophomore year, like we were talking about it as a very like hypothetical, despite the fact that a lot of other schools had it already. So we were just kind of like wondering when it was going to really become a real thing, and it's very exciting that it is now. So yeah, thank you.
Hi, my name is Christine Yum-Lenz, and I'm a parent. I grew up in Sunnyvale and also in Los Altos. I went to Cumberland Elementary School in Sunnyvale, and I'm only bringing it up just to have a setting. And what happened was when I was there, I was like 1977 or so, and people would say, "What are you, Chinese or Japanese?" And I would say, "I'm Korean." And they would say, "Where's that?" Because at that time, no one knew where Korea is. But guess what? BTS, people. So what I just want to say is that with the times, education, our public institutions, you have to lead, you have to be leaders. And so to have ethnic studies come now, like in 2024, whenever you guys are planning to do it, that's a little bit late in my point of view. And so we need to catch up. You need to catch up with the rest of the community. Everybody knows what systemic racism is. If you guys are going to get so much pushback from the community, from national organizations, they're going to tell you not to do it. And what I'm telling you is, as a parent, you have our support, and there's a lot of parents like me. And just because they didn't show up here tonight, and the fact is that you can't call into these meetings, I don't know why you can't call into them, but the fact is that you have parent support, and so that you need to know that, and that we'll back you up. Thank you.
I am officially out of green cards. Would anybody else like to speak on this item? I am seeing none. Okay, I'm going to close community comment. Thank you all for, and please stay because we're still going to keep on talking, but please, thank you everybody for sharing all of your thoughts. And I'll bring this back to us if we have further questions, comments. I definitely do, but I'll turn it over to you guys first. Yeah, go ahead, Sandra.
You want to ask Phil first? If he's got it.
Phil, would you like to go for, do you have additional things that you wanted to add?
Not at this moment.
Okay, thanks.
So just kind of to this last lady who spoke, to her point. So and maybe this is where you haven't thought of in terms of the curriculum or what it's going to look like. But so many of the groups, the ethnic groups that we're talking about, there's a lot there are a lot of groups within those groups, right? I mean, Korean American, Indian American, Bangladeshi American, right? Just in the Asian American, there's who knows how many, right? And that's true about many other areas. So is the idea to look at, I mean, there's many ways to, I guess, to look at that. And I guess I'm curious to know what are your initial thoughts? I mean, I imagine you've been thinking about this for a while. I assume, Julie, you're probably maybe the person who's been thinking about it the most. I don't know. But I'd like to understand kind of what are your ideas in this? Is it looking to do kind of kind of staying at the major 4 groups of the ethnic study program and kind of, focusing on that, or kind of making sure that all the other groups within those groups are also going to be represented in the curriculum? So, yeah, you can come up probably because Phil's going to have to hear it.
Okay. Well, and everybody else listening, yeah, online.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, thank you for the question, Sanjay, because that's a really important one. One of the reasons I'm so thrilled that we will be able to move forward with the year-long class is so that we do have the time and space to be able to go into more depth, because there is so much complexity and diversity within any one of the groups that we mentioned. So it's something that we really want to consider thoughtfully. What I've seen in other districts and talking with other ethnic studies teachers with a lot of experience is that you need to have your core kind of curriculum, and we're committed to it being culturally responsive, right? So some of the ways that might look, for example, with Asian Americans, there is such a rich diversity within the Asian American community, as you're pointing out. So, we can have kind of core concepts and groups that we know we're going to talk about, or issues that we're going to talk about, but we might, need to be responsive to the students who are in the group, right? So I think there needs to be a level of flexibility so that we're really ensuring that students feel represented. They are represented, they're heard in the curriculum. I know, for example, we've had an increase in our population of Central American students, right? So certainly if we're teaching Latinx history, we don't only want to focus on Mexican Americans, right? We'd want to look at, Honduras and El Salvador and Mexico and bring in a lot of the different diversity therein. So I don't know if there's like one straightforward answer, just that will certainly be a consideration when we're looking at the entirety of the curriculum.
I mean, I guess I would just, a little bit caution to what you said, though, looking at the people and the students in the room, is because part of I think one of the most important part of ethnic studies is to teach about other ethnic groups that they may not be encountering exactly in their classroom or even in the school district. Mm-hmm. Right? That is a main part of what ethnic studies is all about. Mm-hmm. Right? Just because maybe there aren't any maybe Jewish Americans that doesn't mean that it's important to teach that history to the people, so that awareness is there. So I think I think that's just something to also make sure that's important.
Absolutely. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, and to speak to that question, I mean, that really kind of, just that question alone shows like why we are trying to be considerate with the time and really dig deep into like, what is the vision for this course? What are the objectives? And to speak to some of the folks who spoke a moment ago, part of that is going to be outreach to the community. Definitely part of that is going to be outreach to the students to get their voice as part of it. But these are the big questions that we have to figure out in this time frame so that we can get this thing in front of students relatively soon and do it well.
Yeah. And I mean, if we really are going to take a constructivist approach, I think we generally have a historical idea that education is kind of this one-way street where teachers control it and they give the kids. There's ways we can cover multiple groups if we give students agency in how we cover the material. So there's all kinds of creative ways that we can actually expand the number of groups, especially if students are interested in a particular group. We can have students looking at all kinds of different groups in a given particular time. So there's ways we can be flexible about it, and I think we're going to have to do that. But you're right, but that is our challenge.
Maybe if you could define what you mean by constructivist approach.
So let's say we give an assignment. We say that there are certain things that define a culture, and we want to look at how the culture is defined. We could make an assignment that actually allows them to decide what it is, which culture they want to look at, which culture they want to apply the principles. So we provide the principles that they're going to use to analyze, and then they choose. Right, and so we can cover lots of different groups, just so long as we ask them to, and then that way they construct their experience. And so I think that's kind of what we're looking at. Not so much teacher-driven, we spoon feed it, we tell them, which limits the amount of stuff that we can cover, right? If we give students some agency, we can actually be much more flexible.
If I could add just one thing very quickly, I also do really want to appreciate the alumni, the community members, the teachers who have been very determined with the activism, the push for ethnic studies. And I also appreciate the comments by some of the parents. And certainly I think that'll inform the conversation, that community input, and just working together with parents in the community and seeking input, from yourselves as well as we think about some of those considerations with the curriculum.
Let me just jump in for a minute. I want to add a thank you. I love that it's a year long. I love that it's our freshmen. I love that it's a heterogeneous group. I think your rollout plan is good to take a year to think on it. We've received many emails asking us to officially take a vote on this, and a vote isn't required at this moment. And that's what I always email back to folks. It's not required. We're already behind this program. We believe in this. We want to do this. But I will, for the record, put out there, I like all of those aspects that you have put together. I like the work that you have done thus far. I'm looking forward to having all the voices on this as we move forward. And I did send a note to Terry a little bit earlier, just as we do form curriculum. All of you three already know this, but we have to stay away from the first draft of that curriculum that came through the state because it was flat out denied. And we all know, any of us, right? I mean, you've been following it more closely than me, but I've been following it too. So, I want to certainly, as we create our own curriculum, we have to not create that one. But I like the way this is going, and I like the recommendation that you brought to us.
Can I echo that? I'm extremely supportive, and I understand that it's in depth and encompasses a wide variety of aspects. And that even though I'd love to see it next year in place, I understand moving forward with a pilot where you can develop it more as you bring out the pilot is pretty important. So one of the things that's key to me is I always like to see the alignment. I'd like to make sure that both of our schools are getting the same type of curriculum, because I think it's important that we have an understanding across the community that this is what we're putting in place and that we're offering it to all of our students the same level. And ninth grade just seems like the perfect place to do it. So appreciate the thoughtfulness and the time that you're putting into it, and look forward to seeing something in early spring that brings to us a kind of a pilot program you're planning to put out with input from the various stakeholders.
The only thing I would add is that going back to what Phil said earlier on, and but then what another commenter in the audience said about activism. And so I think that it is something that probably needs to be included is some sort of discussion on the difference between activism and indoctrination. Or I don't know how you deal with that kind of situation, you know. And also that intriguing comment someone made about social justice is that the whole curriculum there, and how that, and Dr. Meyer, how that all fits together. And so how do we blend in this course with some of those others and stuff like that?
So, yeah, I mean, I'll speak to that briefly. Yeah, of course, I think that's a really important point that you bring up. I guess the way, you know, I would take it, or the way I'd address that is that to some degree, we're already having these conversations with our students in a very real way in our other courses. And I think we can make that distinction. But the impetus, the feeling one thing we get is a feeling of empowerment, right? And a feeling of engagement with their society. And so it's less about tearing things down, but building things up. And I think that's kind of like the goal here. But definitely, it's a careful consideration that we have to make. But that's going to be the goal of the class, is to empower students.
I think teacher training is going to be really key on this one, and choosing who teaches this class. It's going to be really critical. Yeah.
I'd like to add one thing briefly, just on this point of, fostering critical thinking and being mindful of, this activism and basically how the class is taught, right? And I would just say that as social studies teachers, we are deeply committed to doing this well, and we're deeply committed to fostering students' critical thinking and examining diverse perspectives. I know that there's been, controversy at the state level around ethnic studies. And I just want to kind of affirm that what we're going to be doing is grounded in the work that so many of us do on a day-to-day basis, right? Of like exposing students to various perspectives, they're evaluating evidence, they're forming their own opinions, and that's just very core and foundational to everything. So I want to assure people that, we have that professionalism and that commitment to teaching in a way that encourages students to be civically active, right? And does it in a way that, is balanced and thoughtful and kind of encourages their own independent and democratic thinking.
Thank you. Okay, anything else? No? Okay, thank you so much. I know a ton of work has gone in leading into this, and thank you for being here. Okay, we do. I'm just gonna let the room clear out for a minute. Everybody clear out for a second.
I get soccer really easily. And like this past weekend, I was on like a college event, so I was outside. Yeah. I wear sunscreen. I promise I wear sunscreen. I wear sunscreen. Also, this natural. I wear sunscreen.
Where did you visit?
Washington State Louis.
Yeah. So you Washington State, Washington?
So I've been to Washington University.
Oh, yeah, San Luis.
Yeah, I'm actually gonna commit there.
Are you gonna commit there?
Yeah.
Okay. So are you like?
For track.
You've already been accepted.
Oh, great. Should we try to?
Wonderful. That's a nice school.
Yeah.
Yeah, very excellent. Very nice. Your cousin is there?
Sorry, for those of you watching from afar, we're just letting the room clear out for a couple minutes.
Oh, wait a minute. One more.
One more what? that's the sum total. Oh, are there more?
I only got 10, sorry.
Oh, that's good. Okay, we'll share. Yeah, we're okay.
I counted people on the video, I thought 10 were too many.
That's okay. Not a problem. Thank you. Okay, all right, so this takes us to item 17.3, which is our spur resolution, which I'm going to turn over to Mike.
Yeah, thank you. And really, this is an opportunity to join an existing JPA. This is regarding procurement of utilities, and really this came from our E-rate consultant. Our E-rate is the funding to reduce certain technology procurement items. So it's an opportunity to utilize their broad network and the plans instead of going out for requests for proposal and qualifications each time, to really utilize and leverage the existing work or the existing buying power that they have. So this just qualifies us to be a part of that system. It doesn't commit us to anything. There's no costs involved. We can be members and never utilize it, but it just gives us greater flexibility and options in terms of looking at things that IT will look at in terms of improving our infrastructure, other utilities items.
Great, thanks.
Yep.
Does anybody in the community wish to speak on this item? Seeing none, I would take a motion.
I would like to move that we adopt resolution 21/22-8 to empower authority membership in the school project for utility rate reduction.
Okay, so I've got a motion from Catherine, a second from Debbie, that we adopt resolution 21/22-8. Riley, how would you like to vote?
I approve.
Thank you. Alba?
I approve.
Thank you. And to the board, all in favor? Aye. Thank you. There's both hands, so that's 5-0. Thank you for bringing this. And that takes us into item 18, which is all of our end of meeting business. So calendar events, Dr. Meyer, you covered those.
Yes.
Is there anything additional that we need to know about? Communications, correspondence, anybody, anything? Okay. Future board reports or meetings? Nope.
Actually, maybe if we can get an update on, basically for, as the schools are open in terms of masking, in terms of what requirements are, as if we get better news continuously from the county, the numbers continue to go down, to especially for some of our outdoor events, if we could, is there any consideration of not requiring masks in some cases, but especially for any of the outdoor events, or what about the choir program in the theater? Maybe, if we can see if there's any chances of changing some of our policies there as news changes. As conditions allow, that's another way to say it.
So we can make that a note.
Yeah, make that as a note, something if we could just, an update on that as we look at that.
Well, to go on about, there's some thinking about the winter and the fact that there isn't that much outdoors. I think we need to start thinking about what is it going to look like in the winter? How are we going to navigate the campuses, and what do we need to be concerned about? That's kind of worrisome, just to chat, considering now everything's outside. Are we going to be able to open up the gym for lunch? Are we going to be able to provide more areas?
Do we need tents?
To be able to be warm? So I'd be interested in knowing.
So in general, somewhat of a forecast, but also mitigation plans for outside needs, or maybe scenarios if it gets better, if it gets worse, if the inclement weather, those type of.
If we ever get any rain.
Right, I was thinking rain is actually the biggest.
Right, what are we gonna do? Yeah, I totally forgot we used to go to school without masks.
You have to
without masks?
Yeah, and like that might be maybe a problem. I don't know.
Yes.
Yeah, it'd be nice to.
Hopefully it will be a memory soon, right?
Yeah.
On the CBC.
Right.
Okay. In place of next meeting is October 12th, which is a Tuesday, because it's after that long weekend for students and staff. It's after the quarter break.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wait, do we have Monday and Tuesday off, or just Monday?
Monday and Tuesday.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yep. Okay. All right. Well, I'll take a motion to adjourn then.
So
got a motion from Catherine, and a second from Debbie that we adjourn at 9:17. Riley, would you like to go home? Yeah. Thank you, Ava. Back to the board, all in favor? Aye. Yep. Okay, so stay home. Motion carries 5-0, meeting adjourned.